Good morning, everyone, from the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. And I am here in Walmart on Wilkinson Boulevard, sitting in the lucky spot. And with its owner, Shaun Lucky Corbett, which, by the way, did y'all know that Shaun is the first to own and operate a barbershop in Walmart, in this country, in the world? Pretty darn cool. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Shaun Lucky Corbett. Shaun, good morning.
Good morning, Tony. How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm just trying to hang in there, trying to figure out what in the world I'm doing.
Man, seem like you know what you're doing.
You think so?
Yeah,
You
man.
give me entirely too much credit.
Nah, man, you make it look good, man.
No, man, you're the one who makes it look good. I mean, this is awesome. What does it feel like to be the first? To be the first person to own a barbershop and operate a barbershop within a Walmart?
You know the funny thing? People ask me that all the time, but I don't see it like that.
Okay.
Like, I'm just so goal-driven and goal-oriented. It's just, okay, we wanted to put a barbershop in Walmart. We did it. Now we're on to the next thing. So I have a saying, like, you don't fall asleep in the trophy room. So I never got an opportunity to bask in it like everybody else, because I'm already focused on the next thing.
Yeah.
So, like, it just never got the moment to just, we did it. Like, it's just like, okay, what's next?
So what is next?
More shops.
What?
Yeah. We're actually starting to, we went and looked at another location. And so we're getting ready to start the ball rolling on that.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
You've done an amazing job. This shop is really spectacular.
Thank you.
And I had the opportunity yesterday to spend some time with your crew, with your barbers, and man, they are awesome.
Yeah,
You've got some awesome people here.
Yeah, them my boys. I've had the pleasure of not having to hire people based on money.
That's awesome.
You know, it's more based on integrity.
Yeah.
Your moral fiber. Because I got to be here with you 13 hours a day. So we got to get along a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't necessarily have to like you.
Yeah.
But, you know, like in certain shops, or especially in the industry, you know, certain owners have to fill their chairs to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. And I've just always ran by a system that I don't have to be in that position, to where I can pick and choose the right ingredients to make the stew.
So Shaun, tell me your story. How did you, where did you start from to get you where you are today?
Wow, where did I start from? Originally from Brooklyn, New York. My mother moved down here. I was getting at that age, getting into trouble. And as we talked about earlier, I just grew up in a different time. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up in that crack era, that epidemic, and that it completely changed the African-American neighborhood. It went from, you know, family-oriented and community-based to you can't even have company because you don't want somebody coming back stealing what you got in your house. So it completely changed. And so growing up in that time, you know, there wasn't a lot of inspiration or anything like that. So my mom made a move thinking that, for the most part, she was getting me out of a situation. But sometimes when you're exposed to certain things, that's what you seek out. And so, you know, got in a little trouble and went and did a little bit of time. And I think that was the best thing for me. Mm-hmm. You know, I was able to sit down and really reflect at life. And I had a child at that time. And so the one thing that I learned was I didn't want to go back. And so after that, you know, came out, had a hard time finding a job for the most part, just like anybody else. You know, you get that letter behind your name, it changes everything.
Right.
And so one guy named Kevin Mann at a store named Value City, because I didn't check the box yes or no. He said, I noticed you didn't check the box. He was like, tell me a little bit about it. I said, look, I got in some trouble, but if you give me an opportunity, I'll be on time, I'll work for you, I'll work hard for you. He gave me a shot. I stayed there 4.5 years. I ended up being the manager of the toy department.
How about that?
Yeah, and I stayed there all the way until they went out of business. And I had actually filled out an application with one of my friends that wanted to be a barber. Like, he wanted to be a barber. I never had the...
But that never crossed your mind?
Nah, I knew how to cut hair because around 13, I got my first pair of clippers. And it was just based out of, we got tired of our grandma tearing our hair up. You know, so I just learned how to cut my nephews, my little brother, stuff like
Okay,
that.
okay.
So like, it was never like I had aspirations, oh, I want to be a great barber or anything like that. So just so happened that he filled out an application, and in order to get him to do it, I filled out one. And so the company went out of business. I was sitting at home, unemployment's running out, and the phone rang. And it was Jermaine Johnson from the barber school. And he said, hey, you filled out an application, are you interested? I said, sure. He said, be at this place at this time and bring a model. Didn't have any clippers or anything. I had to run around the neighborhood, get somebody to let me borrow clippers and all of that. But we got it done. Took my little brother as a model. I got a partial scholarship. And so from that partial scholarship, I had no clippers because I had to get the clippers back. But I knew that I wanted something different out of my life. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it smelled like. I didn't know what it sounded like. I just knew I wanted something different.
Yeah.
And different than what I was seeing, different than how I was raised and what I grew up around. I just knew I wanted something different. And so I went to school for about 2.5, almost 3 weeks, no clippers. I had enough money to buy my book. And I folded towels and swept the floor every day for about 2.5, almost 3 weeks. And I guess my instructors seen the drive that I had. But I wouldn't even call it drive. I just knew I didn't want to sit at home all day, and I didn't want to hang out with my homeboys in the street. That was just a safe place. I can go there. I'm learning something. It's new. And I think by doing that, they seen the drive in me, and each one of my instructors lent me a clipper. And then I ended up getting a job at a pizza place. Worked there, bought my own clippers, paid my tuition, gave the clippers back. And I think with all of that, that was probably the first time in my life that I was inspired. And I seen something different. Like, that was the first time I seen men in shirt and ties outside of police officers or judges or lawyers or something like that. Like, these guys were really taking care of business. And so I think that was the first time, probably about 25, 26, that I was really inspired. Didn't know where I was going. Didn't know any of that. I just knew that I liked this because it was different.
Do you see yourself as a leader?
Absolutely. But in order to be a great leader, you must be an excellent follower. See, like in our community, you know, Tony, the word follower is a bad thing. Don't be a follower, be a leader.
Right.
But as you get older and you live life, there's nothing wrong with being a follower. It's all in who you follow.
Right.
If you're following Warren Buffett, like, dude, you're gonna be okay.
Right.
But now if you following Ray,
that's a whole different story.
yeah. So it's nothing wrong with being a follower, and you have to be able to be a good follower to be a great leader.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Right. So often we believe that in order to get to greatness, right, we must always be in front. When the reality is sometimes, you know, the smart thing to do is find people who are greater than you are and smarter than you are. And, you know, so that you can continue to be inspired and learn from them, right? Often we believe that if we surround ourselves with people, we got to be the smartest one in the bunch. When I would argue that you want to be the not so smart one in the bunch. You want everybody else to be smarter than you so that you can learn from them.
Yeah, if you're the smartest person in the room, you should be very afraid. You should be, if you're the smartest one in your circle, you should be very afraid. I learned a long time ago in business to empower the people that do the things you don't do well.
Yes.
That's it. Like, I don't have what they call founder syndrome.
Okay.
Mine, me, I. Like, I don't, because I know, what's the saying? If you want to get there fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you got to go with a group.
That's
like,
right.
you got to go together. So I kind of live by that. Like, we're more of a family here, more community, and those are the main things that we're built on around here.
So tell me about the Lucky Spot.
The Lucky Spot.
Yeah. How did you come up with that name?
Well, that's my nickname. I've had that name for years, and actually, my mom came up with the name Lucky Spot because I had bought the barbershop because I ended up buying the barbershop when I got out of barber school, I started working at a barbershop and I ended up buying that shop. And I was trying to figure out what to call it. And she was like, why don't you just call it Lucky Spot? I'm like, nah, that sounds too plain. You know, that doesn't have a ring to it or anything like that. But who would know almost 11 years later that Lucky Spot Barbershop would be a staple in the community?
How about that?
Yeah, right?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And so now you're here in Walmart doing your thing with a great crew of people. What is it that you hope to do with the Lucky Spot? Because I know it's more than just cutting people's hair and making them look good. It's a bigger thing for you.
I think with the relationship that we have with Walmart and being inside of Walmart, what I would like to see for the Lucky Spot is, for one, creating opportunities across the country, across the globe, but also just being the standard of what barbershop and barbering is supposed to be. Because, you know, in our industry, everybody's not always doing it the right way, but that's in every industry.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But being on such a stage like Walmart, you have to do it right. And so before we try to repeat, let's make sure that this is the standard.
Yes.
Make sure that they give back to the community.
Yeah.
Make sure that they have the paperwork in order. You know, because like the funny thing is, since I've gotten in Walmart, I get all types of calls. Like, man, how can I get in Walmart? And it's people from the industry. And so I always tell them, I say, okay, you're gonna have to have your paperwork in order. Like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I think that they might think that I'm just being excessive, but like, this is Walmart. Let's be real about it.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like going in the local neighborhood and leasing a space. It's a little different. So you have to carry yourself a certain way being in here. And that's just the facts about it.
Right.
You know, like, and so the thing about it is, preferably I would love for every barbershop to be in Walmart to be a Lucky Spot. Because then I know it'll be safe, it'll be clean, and it'll be the way that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't happen, there still needs to be a standard. There still needs to be a protocol of what it needs to look like.
Right.
You know, to make sure that these opportunities are available for the next people.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I see.
I love it. Shaun, you have done so much here in Charlotte because for you, it's not just about the Lucky Spot and helping people look good, but you are so focused on helping people live better. And so what has been that drive for you to get out here and do the wonderful things that you do in the community? Because I mean, Shaun, you do a lot. You do a lot around here.
The funny thing is, Tony, people ask me that question all the time. I really don't have like one of those theatric answers. It's just the right thing to do. Like, I think that if more people got to a certain place in their life and focus on helping the next generation, I'm not gonna live forever. Even though I might want to, I'm not. So when it's all said and done, you wanna be able to say, well, I helped that person, I helped that person, I inspired that person, I gave that person an opportunity. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think that's what we get so focused on being goal-oriented that we lose sight of, like, we're here to inspire people. Like, that's what we're really here for. You know, like they say, each one teach one and out. Like, that's what it's really about, to be out in the street or in the mall or something and see a little kid to say, hey, Mr. Lucky, when is tutoring starting? Or, hey, you gave me, you gave my kids book bags. Or, I was at one of your events and Walmart had a job fair and I got a job. Like, that's it.
That's
like
deep.
that's bigger than anything, because like you played a part in shaping or changing the narrative of someone's life.
Yeah.
And you live forever with that.
But Shaun, the deep part about that is, not only did you change the narrative of that person's life, but you changed the narrative in generations.
Yeah.
Generations, because it's not just that person, but it's the next person after that. It's the child, the grandchild, the nephew, the folks in the community. That is, when you think about that, that is powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
That's the goal. Like, that's it. Like, you know, out of everything that excites me about all this stuff I'm doing, just to be able to like the students that I have in school, just to see them low self-esteem, low confidence going into school, then by the time they graduate, they're totally different. Like that excites me. That gets me up in the morning. Like that makes me keep coming back.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
I think that's the best part of it. Like you said, that's the best part of it.
Earlier, you mentioned that there were young men on scholarship, you know, and so I want to delve into that a little bit. So that sounds like to me that you are actually providing scholarships for young people. Is that correct, or am I misinterpreting things?
Nah, you got it. You got it right. But like we said earlier in my story and how I got here, you know, I was a recipient of a partial scholarship, so it's only right. But the way that the scholarship was always a part of the plan, but what really caused me to push forward was one day I was at my shop, and a caseworker from DSS called me and said that one of her clients was aging out of foster care, and he was interested in being a barber. And she looked me up, and she said that when I talked to him about being a barber. So she brought him to the shop, and we talked. And after we talked, he was like, yeah, I'm interested. I was like, okay, if you're serious, this is what I'm gonna do for you. I'm gonna go to the school, I'm gonna get the application, I'm gonna get everything you need, I'm gonna help you fill it out, and I'm gonna take it back for you because I know the guy at the school. And so I still got the application somewhere in a box somewhere. I'm not gonna throw it away, and you'll know why in a minute. But long story short, he was like, yeah. And it was Memorial Day weekend, so he was supposed to come back like that Tuesday or something. So Tuesday rolls around, he doesn't show up. He doesn't show up. And so the funny thing about it was, that was one of the, they call it one of the bloodiest weekends in Charlotte that year. And so I'm like, oh, he bull jiving. You know, I'm thinking he just didn't show up because the kid is 18. So I'm like, maybe he changed his mind or whatever it may be. Maybe a few days later, caseworker texted me and said, I'm sorry to tell you, but Davion was one of the kids that got murdered over the weekend.
Oh, man.
And so he was actually he was coming from visiting his paternal mother, going to the adult foster facility, and he was waiting at the bus stop and got caught in crossfire. They wasn't even shooting at him. And so when that happened, you know, I got with McFadden, which you'll probably talk to him later, and I was like, yo, there's probably a lot of Davions out here. It's time to get this rolling. And that's how it started.
Wow.
And so since then, man, that's been maybe about a year and a half. And I think we done graduated like four, in barber school like 9 to 10 months.
Yes,
so those numbers are great. And with the help of Walmart, man, y'all guys helped them before get through school.
That's
and, you know,
awesome.
that's big.
So they are out here cutting, doing their thing.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about it earlier about how that not only has changed their lives, but have changed the lives of all those folks around these gentlemen. That's really awesome. What does that feel like to know that you have done this?
They become your kids. You never stop being parents. Like, you know, like it's even though we got them through barber school, now it's like my first graduate. Now I'm teaching him how to run the business.
Okay.
Like teaching him how to do the paperwork and stuff like that. So it's never a time like where you're just a proud papa.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, you know, like you're always still teaching. Like you're just always still teaching. It's never a moment where it's like, okay, you're all right. No, it's like, man, tuck your shirt in. Come here, let me fix your tie. Like it's always, you know, it's always just teaching. And I think, like I said, those are the things that excite me.
You talked you talked about inspiring people. Who inspires you?
I think my community inspires me as a whole, because there's so many people that inspire me. And I don't think it would be fair to name certain people because I know I'm gonna forget, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like Mr. Sam that sit at Subway, he inspires me. Because when we opened, you know, and the first things he said to me, he sit at Subway every day and drink coffee. First thing he said to me was, about time Walmart got a black business in here. But to him, you gotta remember, we're in the South.
That's right.
You know, 60 years ago, this wasn't possible. Right here in Charlotte. So he's probably 70-something years old. So it was a different Charlotte when he was growing up. So for him to come and say, good job, Walmart's finally getting it. Like that's inspiration.
Right.
Because now I can't let him down.
Yes.
I got to be on the stage all the time. And then you got to think about the kids that we sent through school. They inspire me.
Yeah.
I have to walk a certain walk and be a certain way. And just everybody that plays a part in, like I say, the community. Like just the community, because we work hard to be able to provide for our community.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the inspiration.
You know, I would definitely say that you have, you make Walmart incredibly proud, right? Because you come in here and you've started an awesome business. Mm-hmm. But do you ever think about what you are doing for Walmart?
Nah, not really, man. Like, I don't get caught up in all that,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Like, it's people that know me know, like, it's all work. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, these opportunities don't come around often.
Yes.
So let's go get it. Let's be great. Like, I'm more focused on those things. But I mean, when you break it down for what it is, I do think that it is a balanced relationship. Mm-hmm. Y'all get what y'all need and we get what we need.
Right.
And as long as we keep it balanced and fair,
right.
I think we're gonna have a great future.
Yes. But I'm gonna tell you what you do for Walmart. I walked through this Walmart yesterday, and there's a vibe here, man. There's a vibe here. Folks here, the associates are so proud that you are here. So you are inspiring people in so many different ways, not just the folks that are coming in this barbershop, but just folks that are walking through this store. Do you know how many people I've seen walk by here just smiling? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they walk by, they take pictures, they come in here and want to shake my hand, they hug me, like they come and treat the barbers to lunch, you name it. Like, but see, those are the things that people don't see every day.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be here every day to see those things. And so that's why it's very important to me for us to be the standard. Mm-hmm. Because like you say, it is a vibe.
Yeah.
And we want to spread that vibe all through the company.
Yeah.
But so you can't taint it. You can't tarnish it.
Right,
Like, you can't
right.
taint it because, when you got it, you got it.
Yeah.
And
exactly
it's just one
right.
of them things, man. Like, when you got it, you got it.
Yeah. You earlier you mentioned the name McFadden.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about that. Tell me, who is McFadden?
McFadden.
And what role has McFadden played, in your life? Because you mentioned that name. And so first let me start with, who is McFadden? What's his or her full name? Sheriff
of Mecklenburg County, Gary McFadden.
What?
He is the first African-American sheriff
Uh-huh.
in Mecklenburg County. So he is the police of all police.
Okay.
And he has many meanings to me, but the most important is he's my friend.
Okay.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and I was like, when it come to me, he rearranged everything. Cause like we were trying to get the interview, and being the sheriff, you got to be everywhere all the time.
Right.
He was like, for Shaun, I'll be there. He was like, don't worry about it, I'll be there.
Oh.
And so like I said, he wears many, many hats to many, many people.
Yeah.
And the most important one for me is he's my friend.
Uh-huh.
And when I met him, he wasn't even the sheriff. He was actually working freelance for the police department. And I had this idea about barbers and cops bringing the community together to be able to discuss their issues.
Uh-huh.
And so the police chief sent, I was sitting on a local barber association at the time. They're dissolved now, but at the time it was a local barber association. And the police chief at that time, Rodney Monroe, he sent McFadden to come talk to me. And so I was introduced to McFadden. We had chicken wings and iced tea and everything. We met at a restaurant. And he was like, tell me about your idea. I told him. He pulled out his pen and a piece of paper or his notepad, and he was like, what do you need? And I told him what I needed.
Uh-huh.
He wrote it down. He made it happen. That was the basis of our relationship for the next 4 to 5 years.
Uh-huh.
And so anything that I needed, he was my guy that I can get on the phone. I need a rec center. I need book bags. I need iPads. I need this. I need that. Like the tutoring program. That started after we did a radio interview. And I was like, hey man, I need some books because I want to do tutoring at the barbershop. A couple weeks later, we got the books, we got tutoring up and running. And so he was just my go-to guy. And that built the relationship. We even went to the White House together, you know,
Wow.
and to speak about the cops and barbers. And so we just became friends. And then when he decided to run for sheriff, it was my opportunity to tell him, what do you need from me?
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, that's my boy.
So Cops and Barbers. Tell me about Cops and Barbers.
Man, Cops and Barbers really was started just basically after the Michael Brown thing, man. Because you can't tell me anything different. I feel like if Officer Williams would have knew something about Michael Brown, even if he went to school with his uncle, his brother, or just pretty much knew something about that neighborhood, it wouldn't have went that way. Because you have to remember, man, when we grew up, it really was community policing. You know, the cops, they come and they on the basketball court shooting with us, throwing the football. So it was a little bit different than what it is now. And so after the Michael Brown thing, my oldest son was 18. And he just got a car, 30-day tag. And the biggest thing for me was the fear of, does my son know how to deal with engagement with law enforcement, whether positive or negative? And so, just like anything, this is the beautiful thing about the barbershop, as you know. The barbershop is the best soundboard
Yes, it is.
in the world. Because people always be like, man, how are you so enlightened about certain things? I can have the same conversation 200 times in one day and get 200 different perspectives.
Right.
And so anything that I think about doing in the community, I bring it to the barbershop and I just throw it out there and I let them go. And I'm mentally just collecting data on certain things.
Right.
So when we got to the police engagement and what's the right way to deal with law enforcement, what's the wrong way, I realized that most people were like me. We really didn't know. We were just pretty much raised and taught, you stay away from them, they're gonna stay away from you. That was pretty much as far as it went. And so I felt like, just like anything, I always want to be a service to my community. So it was something that needed to be done. And so we put it together, man, and it was just all about the service. And former Mayor Anthony Fox he was working for the Obama campaign at that time. He happened to come back to Charlotte, and like we did our first event. It was like 250 people there. I'll never forget. It was Super Bowl Sunday. I was nervous because I was like, should I change it? We was like, it's too late. But it was 250 people there. And so they let me know that it was a need. And so when he came to Charlotte, the buzz was still there. And so he ended up going back telling Obama about it, because Obama was putting together the 21st Century Policing Initiative. And so he told Obama about that. So Charlotte and Cops and Barbers was in that top 10. So we got invited to the White House.
That's awesome.
And he mentioned Cops and Barbers in one of his State of the Union addresses. And once that happened, that was it.
So what was it like being in the White House?
Man, it's not like what everybody thinks, man.
Really?
It was definitely a cool experience. But the White House that most people see is not the White House that I saw. You know, like not the tour and all that. We came in a disclosed location, had to go through like 3 security checkpoints, walk through 2 different tunnels, and it was like it was very timed and strategic. Like at 10:15, you're gonna speak to this group. At 10:45, that group is over. At 10:55, you're in room. Like it was just boom, 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 boom. It wasn't no tour, no anything. Like it wasn't like what people expect.
Yeah.
And so, but
wow.
It was definitely a great experience because I was able to meet all law enforcement from all over the country.
That's
so that
awesome.
was cool.
That's
that
awesome.
Was cool.
So how does Cops and Barbers work?
Cops and Barbers has evolved and just into a community service program.
Okay.
Like we do tutoring, we do the book bag drives, the turkey drives, which the barbershop already did, but adding the police and the sheriff's department with it, that adds the Cops and Barbers feel to it. But I think the most important gem that we have now is the scholarship program.
Okay.
Where we send young men to barber school for free for the most part. Or either we do outright scholarship or tuition reimbursement. We have a couple options now where we started out just strictly, scholarship, but now we added another aspect to it. And what happens is, man, we send these guys to school, give them a trade, we give them employment. But in that process, they get financial literacy training. You know, they get professionalism training. It's a lot that goes into that, man. And so what happens is once they graduate out of barber school, they go right into the aftercare program where we're teaching these young men how to run business, how to run a barbershop, the open and close procedures. Because like I said, the goal is putting these shops in multiple Walmarts. Somebody got to run them.
Yeah, yeah. We often hear the saying, it takes a village, which means it takes everybody. It's not just one, right? It's not just the Lucky Spot. It's not just Walmart. It's not just the sheriff's department. It's not just City Hall. It takes everybody to really create change in communities.
That's it.
What would you say to other communities who are struggling and trying to figure out how to shift, how to change the direction in which it's going?
First of all, you got to be open-minded. Because when we started Cops and Barbers, the biggest thing was the community really wasn't open-minded at first. But the fact that I pushed the initiative and I had such a great reputation in the community, people bought into it. But I think that's the first step. You have to be open-minded because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, looking for different results. So you cannot be afraid to try something different. Like, you can't be afraid. And like you said, it takes a village. There's no way to beat systematic poverty and things that go on in our communities alone. There's no way. You're gonna need your corporate entities like Walmart and other businesses and the local small businesses to partner with these larger businesses to really make the change. There's no more being on the island. We tried that, you know, and I think that even with the civil rights, like especially in the South, you know, the civil rights movement got us to this point.
Right.
Now it's up to us to take it to the next step. You know, it's our job to rebuild, forge new relationships, you know, for the next generation to take it a little bit farther.
Yeah.
And that's how that has to work.
Yeah. What keeps you up at night?
Thinking somebody outworking me.
Wow. So you gotta get that hustle on.
Man, I don't know nothing else.
Yeah.
My philosophy, really, to be honest with you, my philosophy is I spend so much time doing BS that like, man, you better work.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a joke, but honestly,
Yeah.
I get my work ethic from my mother. My mother worked 2 jobs all my life. So my mother literally worked herself sick. 2 jobs all her life. So like, that's just in me. Like, that's just one of them things that's in me. But if I'm not at work, how can I get on somebody for not being at work?
Yeah.
Or if I'm not working, because people, like, even when I'm not here, I'm working. I'm recruiting students, or I'm at the school. I'm you know, so it's always work. But I think what keeps me up at night is just feeling like somebody outworking me. You know.
Wow.
You know, like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, like I go to sleep usually about 3 a.m.
Woo.
Usually about 3 a.m. And I'm always in my mind, I know other barbers ain't up working. I know other barbershop owners ain't up working at this time. They can't be. You know, this is one of those things, like, it's like a Michael Jordan thing. They say Michael Jordan used to take the slightest thing and turn it up. That slightest thing that if you didn't speak to him at a party or something like that, now he gonna go score 50 points on you the next time he plays against you. So, like, you always gotta constantly motivate yourself, constantly stay dedicated, constantly push.
What's the biggest leadership lesson you've learned?
That you can't hurt yourself wanting it more for a person than they want it for themselves. Because, like, being knee deep in the community, you want to help everybody.
Right.
Some people just ain't ready. So you just got to keep going and be the example. But sometimes, you know, that can hurt.
Right.
You know, it's pain and separation. And sometimes you got to separate. Like, this journey hasn't always been peaches and cream. Because, like, a lot of people think that we just opened up when we got to Walmart. You
Right,
get what I'm
right,
saying?
right, yeah.
Like, I owned a barbershop for 10 years. And me and Michelle worked on this about 2 years. So there's been a lot of transition and a lot of growing pains in that process.
Right, right.
So sometimes I would say for me, it's okay to let go, because sometimes you can want it more than that person wants it, and you can hurt yourself or you can hurt the brand or the business by wanting it more than they want it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. One of the lessons my mother was very clear on is making sure I understood what I could control and what I couldn't control. And she would say, baby, focus on what you can control. You know, there are things that you don't control that you would love to, but you don't, and you never will. So put your time and energy in the stuff that you can control, because that's where it's at.
Nah, you right. Like, she said it best. Mom knows best.
Mom knows best.
I couldn't say that better.
Yeah. Shaun, what an awesome conversation.
Yeah,
You
man.
are, you've said you wanted to be an inspiration. And I'm telling you right now, you are an inspiration.
Okay.
And own your greatness, my brother. Own it.
Appreciate it.
And I know that without a shadow of a doubt, the best is yet to come. We ain't seen nothing yet.
I'm gonna receive that, brother. I'm gonna receive that. And great conversation. Thank you for coming out, man. Like, this is big for Black enterprise and everything. Like, this is big. Like, this is a big thing, and I really appreciate it.
You know,
hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah.
We'll come to the next one.
Yeah. You know, I would love to come and talk to you. You know, just just to see cops and barbers in action, right? And I would love to even see, you know, cops and barbers replicated. You know, to see in other communities, to see the same thing happening. You know, because I think what you're doing is pretty amazing, and I'm inspired. I'm leaving here inspired, knowing that there's more that I should be doing.
Nah, I think you and your purpose, bro, to give people like me a voice, that's big. Oh, that's big.
You know, you give me too much credit, man. I'm just a hoodlum trying to make it, bro. That's all I is. That's all I is. Shaun, thank you very
brother.
much, man.
Thank you.
Awesome conversation.
Thank
I'm
you.
leaving here inspired, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
All right.